37 times 2. 4. Mickey's big hand says we got a couple minutes.
Don't forget, it's a television production.
What's that?
Television production, 7 o'clock on the.
7 o'clock, I understand. Okay, we all set? Ready? Good evening. I call the March 8th, 2022 Murrysville Planning Commission meeting to order. Would you please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's not a very good likeness, Mr. Morrison. Patty, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Lemke?
Here.
Ms. Hoy? Mr. Midal?
Here.
Mr. Patrick?
Here.
Mr. Olszewski?
Here.
Mr. Kearns?
Here.
Mr. Levecki?
Here.
Okay, we have minutes from February the 8th. Does anybody have any comments or corrections to the minutes as presented?
No comments.
No. I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have a period for public comment on the agenda. I assume that you are all here for one of the items on the agenda this evening. Does anyone have anything else they would like to bring to the attention of the Planning Commission on any other topic? If not, there is a sign-up sheet in the front. If you intend to speak, please do so. Okay, old business is item number 1 is an advisory hearing on a request by Redstone Highlands to rezone a parcel of land on Klein Hollow Road and Arrowhead Court, approximately 37 acres from R2 to R3. Is someone here representing Redstone? Give us your name, sir.
John Dixon, D-I-C-K-S-O-N. I'm President and CEO of Redstone.
Okay.
So as I've indicated, I'm President and CEO of Redstone. I've had the great opportunity to serve in this position for 20 years and 40 years in the
Put
industry.
the map on the screen.
I'm sorry?
Nope.
My journeys have led me to build retirement communities from Mississippi to Vermont. And one of the things that I've always found in building these communities that there is a good sense of what is called common good. And that common good has presented itself in every area and every community that I've developed or had the opportunity to develop communities. Admittedly, I was not here when this program, Redstone, was built here in Murrysville. I came aboard when the community was about 30% complete. But what I did find was there was a lot of good open doors and camaraderie in this community to make sure that this product was built. Because communities like Redstone are needed. I find that people who work and live in a community want to retire in that community. Admittedly, some move away, but eventually come home. And then the young families that come into the area want to bring their parents here for security and safety. That is a common theme and common thread in human good. For those who are not really familiar with the Redstone campus, we offer 90 independent units and 44 personal care units. It is offering opportunities for people when they age in place, when skilled services are needed to move to our Greensburg campus, but have all the support services. Being that today marks 2 years ago that the World Health Organization announced the pandemic, just as a point of interest, Redstone throughout its communities offered more than 28,000 COVID tests. We had 336 positives within our organization. During that time frame, all the requirements from CDC, Department of Health, CMS directives were all met. For those who are not in healthcare and during this pandemic time, there are called what are HANs, and those HANs are new directives. Imagine 70 new directives coming out from those agencies on policies and procedures that you have to develop. I bring this information forward to present, again, the human good that has been accomplished in this community. Tonight, we are calling for the human good of this community to approve a zoning change of our property from R2 to R3 to allow the development of apartments which would exceed the unit count allowed under R2 zoning. We are requesting this accommodation for economic reasons, as it makes no sense, subject to the development cost, to proceed with unit count less than 78, but more desirable of 104 units, now comprising of 4 buildings with 26 units in each complex. We want to make sure we make it known we will not clear cut the site of trees to maintain desirable visual barriers to the neighboring properties. And we want to make sure that everybody understands we are not seeking any property tax relief for this development. So at this time, what I'd like to do is bring up the engineer, Jonathan Grugowski from Gateway Engineer, to present a few presentation boards.
Good evening, and thank you, John. Again, my name is Jonathan Garcheski with Gateway Engineers. We were here before you back in July and August, just presenting the plans and discussing the development of the site under the R2 guidelines. But as Mr. Dixon commented on, adhering to the strict guideline requirements of the R2 and the PRD process under the R2 guidelines, the unit count does not make the project economically feasible for the Redstone Development Company. Therefore, we're looking to formally request, obviously we're here tonight to discuss informally, just to get your recommendation moving forward. We'll take it through the normal course and process of the formal rezoning application process. But we're just here to reintroduce the topic to you before we appear informally before council, and then more formally making the application to you here later this year. I don't know, Jim, can you make access to the camera?
Sure, go ahead, put it on the board. He's got boards he's going to show.
So this is just the copy of the county tax map showing the parcel in question. To the left of this page, to the left of the screen, is the current Redstone Highlands facility. And again, this is the piece of property that's currently zoned R3. And then the parcel in question is the one outlined in the light blue color. This parcel is currently zoned R2, and this is the piece of property comprising of 36 acres to be would request to be rezoned to the R3 zoning district.
Could you use the microphone, please?
You take it out.
You can pull that out of there. Yeah. There you go.
You want to clip on instead? Is that
No, I'm
easier?
fine. No, I'm fine. Absolutely. Thank you. So again, this is the piece of property outlined in blue would be the piece of property to be rezoned from the R2 to the R3 zoning district designation. So I just have a few drawings to show you. This is the orientation of the site that would pursue 3 buildings. In this development would be coming off of the existing parking lot, coming up to a double-loaded parking bay for the clubhouse facility, and ultimately making its way to the east for the first building, a complex of 26 apartments. That would all be constructed into a Phase 1 designation. With these 3 buildings, we'd be looking at a 3-phase construction process. But again, these would be 3 buildings. Each of the buildings would be comprised of 26 units, with which would be a 2-story apartment building complex with a garage fully enclosed underneath the existing, the proposed building. This would be the option that would give us a total mix count of 78 units. And then the other option, as Mr. Dixon had mentioned, would be for 4 units, or 4 buildings, comprising of 104 units under a 4-phase approach, but well under the maximum yield from being changed from the R2 to the R3 zoning district. And as we had shown previously at a prior meeting, the buildings are aesthetically pleasing, and to reduce the footprint of the facility, that would minimize the amount of disturbance to the overall ground. We did, as I mentioned, have the garage underneath the facility. Although we're showing on the uphill view, you would have 2 stories exposed, with the garage floor being buried. And then on the downhill view, you would see 3 stories, but that 3rd story that was now exposed is the actual garage floor base there. So as the smaller footprint keeps the limit of disturbance down, and the 4 units provides a yield which is well under the maximum yield of the R3 zoning district.
Okay, so the first one that you showed us was 78 units. That's not really what you want to build. You want to build the 104 units.
That is correct, yes.
Desirably would like that opportunity.
Okay. And we had this discussion once before, and the plans changed from the last time you were here. I think last time you were here, you were only talking about 78 units, or three buildings.
Well, we were originally talking about 3 buildings. However, when we went with the conventional zoning approach, under the R2 guidelines, we were only able to fit a maximum of 48 units on the piece of property, which would yield us 2 buildings with 24 apartments in each building, giving us the total of the 48 units. That opportunity under the current zoning requirements is not economically feasible for Redstone to take this undertaking, to go for the approach of putting the clubhouse in, all of the infrastructure for the road, the utilities, so on and so forth. The individual units would be priced out of market conditions that it wouldn't be financially feasible for them to make those upfront costs.
So, go ahead.
Are these units all independent living units? They are, yes. So everybody's responsible for their own food, yes, own meals and whatnot? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, so this plan isn't reflective of what you would actually like to do on the site, is that correct? What-
This plan shows the 4 buildings with the clubhouse.
Okay.
If the zoning was granted, what's the timeline on this?
Well, the timeline, once we get the zoning in place, hopefully, we do a complete market study. We already had a firm in place, but because of the pandemic.
Sir, you're going to have to use the microphone as well.
The timeline, the next step is to do a full market study. We hired a firm to do that, but put that on hiatus because of the pandemic. And once we get the market study done, we're probably looking at probably 2024, spring of 2024 to begin development.
Over what length of time?
Well, the plan is to build as quickly as the market responds. So once we would start phase 1, once we completed phase 1, we'd move to phase 2. So conceivably, it would be over a 5-year period, 6-year period.
So you're looking at 20 units a year, perhaps, about.
26, yeah.
So if you had the property rezoned, what would prevent you from selling it
Well, we have no desire to sell the property.
today?
I mean, we bought the property with the intentions to build on the property.
What's the current occupancy rate there now at Redstone?
We are about 10 units under in independent living. We are about 4 units in personal care under.
Percentages?
I would say we're probably 92% around there, off the top of my head.
Which, the independent living or altogether?
In total. Yep, in total. We've rebounded more quickly with personal care as opposed to independent living. During the pandemic, when it hit, we shut down operations and entrance into the building willingly of the people within the building, but and we received a lot of resistance about that, but that turned out to be one of the greatest moves we ever did because it limited exposure. So we're very happy about that. We actually saved lives during that pandemic because of that.
How big are these individual units? Are they 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom? How many square feet?
Well, right now we have a variety of, right now, Plan 1, 2, and 3 within each complex. I didn't bring the unit count with me or the square footage of those. I can tell you the design that we're going for is a Frank Lloyd-ish type of design with interiors with those same elements.
Okay.
You
said 1, 2, and 3 bedroom?
Yeah. Yeah, the 1 bedroom is to appeal to a single person and make it more economical for somebody to move in there, and then the 2 and 3 bedrooms will be offered.
Just out of curiosity, why would someone who's seeking independent living need 3 bedrooms?
You know, it defines our logic sometimes, but, you know, we find that within market studies. So when we have a development in North Huntington where we have villa homes, and those are 2 and 3 bedroom units. Some people don't downsize, Jim.
So a husband and wife are living in a 3 bedroom
Yes, they do.
apartment?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So you say you're not looking for any tax relief on these eventually?
That's what we have said. Yep.
Was that the same position with the original development?
Well, the original development's under a pilot program, so we'd like to maintain that.
So you want a pilot program, not?
No, we're not asking for a pilot program for the new development.
And what kind of guarantees can you give the municipality that that's the case?
Well, you define that. I mean, we're saying that, so.
I'm not sure what you mean by define that.
Well, you know, for the life of that project.
Well, wasn't that the case on the original development?
I don't know because I wasn't here when that was started.
Yes, it was. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything you wish to add at this point, sir?
Nothing else at this time, no.
Okay. So, well, let me ask you, if this were done under the R2 PRD, you could get 74 units roughly?
No, we were only able, under the straight zoning calculation of the PRD, it was 47 units. We provided the plan previously under prior meetings showing that we could fit a maximum of 48 units on there, one more than the density calculation allows. And under that scenario, only 2 buildings would be built with 24 units in each.
Okay. Okay.
Are these independent units, are they age restricted? Do you restrict them by age? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they are age restricted, 55 years of age and greater.
Okay. We have some members of the audience. Did anybody sign up or anybody wish to comment or raise a question? In the audience? No? Nobody back there? Okay, well, I guess that in order for you to do this, you'd have to make formal application. And you would do this under a straight R3, not a PRD?
That is correct. The garden apartments are allowable use in the R3 zoning district.
Okay. We had some discussions a while ago on a zoning district or some zoning modifications. That never really got off the ground, though, for this type of use.
That's correct.
Okay.
I would caution Planning Commission, this is not to be determined based on the proposed development, but on the requested land use change. This is,
Well, that goes to your question of, once it's rezoned, Redstone, different board comes in and decides, let's sell this thing and move on. And that's always the problem with the rezoning, because once you rezone it, anything can happen, as we all know. So, and I think that's our only trepidations about this. One of them, I should say. Okay, well, I guess we just have to sit and wait until you make an actual application then.
I'm the liaison to council. I'm not actually a member of the Planning Commission, but I happen to live on Sequoia Court. And I've had a number of my neighbors ask me about the development. So in that you're here, let me just ask this, is that one, like Arrowhead Court right now only goes up to like 29 something the address. And I know this is what, 3907? That's what it said. So, and then at the end of Arrowhead right now, you go into Apache Court or Apache Lane. So I'll tell you what it really gets down to is that access to the 3 or 4, let's say 4 apartment complexes would be from where?
Yes, so the access to the proposed complexes would be through the existing driveway that has access to Klein Hollow Road. So all traffic would come up through the existing driveway, through the parking lot, and then come up into the site in that direction. There is no proposed connections to Apache Lane, Arrowhead Court, or Sequoia Court in the proposed development.
Okay. I think our chief administrator mentioned something about I guess, access by emergency vehicles. And has that been looked into? Meaning, I think generally what we're saying is if there's only one way in, then what if a fire truck, if that gets blocked, there's no alternate way, if I'm stating it correctly?
well, I think there's 2 things. One is that there's nothing that can prevent them from accessing Arrowhead Court. So, and I would think that the recommendation, given the size of this property, the location of the buildings, that emergency services would be recommending a second access.
Well, they could also provide an emergency access only with a gate that only the fire department or EMS could access.
I believe I questioned this at the original meeting. Thank you for bringing that up. I think I was asking if an access could be provided, a secondary access to Klein Hollow. How many units are in the existing building?
90.
Well, there's 90 independent, 44 personal care.
Okay, the personal care really aren't generating traffic coming in and out or anything. So,
Well, I mean, visitors.
but so you have 90, and then you're adding 100 and over 100 more. That's quite a lot off of one entrance. I would probably be more inclined to say that it would have to be a fully functional access versus just a gated emergency access. I mean,
I think that would be a matter to discuss under the, when you had actually a site plan to worry about, but I can see the residents being concerned with nothing else, it being a cut-through. And then that presents problems for the, I would think, for them down at the existing facility.
It works both ways.
So I think that's something we have to think about.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to throw it out there. Like, that's my opinion. Like,
No,
when
absolutely.
you guys
We
are planning,
appreciate that.
that's-
And,
yeah.
and once, if and when the project does move forward, then we would evaluate whether an emergency access, we would sit with emergency personnel and determine whether or not emergency access would be required. Or by code, if a secondary access would be required, then obviously we would pursue that option as well. Just to connecting to Sequoia Lane or Apache Court, those access points would be located here, plan-wise, so that if any accesses were connected in this location or conversely in this location over here, I couldn't imagine it would act as a speed cut-through because it would be very cumbersome to come into the development, come around, come back down around this way, and come back down this way, back out to Klein Hollow Road. So it would be a cumbersome path of travel rather than coming back out and around the 22 and everything. But again, those additional access points would be evaluated if the project were to move forward.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll wait until we have an application.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next item on the agenda is the discussion of SB 921, a minor site plan application to add storage for bicycles at the deck hockey place down on School Road South. Mr. Friedrich, long time no see.
All right, good evening, John Frederick, Civil and Environmental Consultants, representing the Murrysville Sports Zone facility located along School Road South, just off of Route 22, adjacent to the Sheets development. The parcel here is 6 acres. We originally presented this to the Planning Commission back in October. At that time, we presented a plan that showed 3 potential options of locations that a bike storage unit could be considered. There was some confusion in regard to whether or not we were asking for all 3 locations or a single location at that time. So we did revise the current plan to reflect 1 single location, which is immediately adjacent to the sports arena, which is on the furthest eastern portion of the site, just on the north side of the existing sports arena. This location here is shown in red. As we described back in October, the storage unit is a repurposed shipping container. There is a facility in Monroeville that is storing this current facility, waiting to deploy it here to the Murrysville location. There was some discussions back in October as to what this unit would look like. Again, a shipping container, I think that had some negative connotations in regard to what it would look like, the condition, the colors. But here there's a rendering of taking the shipping container and retrofitting it into the bike storage unit. This facility is proposed to have 9 roll-up doors. Those roll-up doors would be facing the sports arena adjacent to the sidewalk, which is in close proximity to the side of the building. So we tried to match the colors of the existing sports zone, which is a steel fabricated building. So the colors are currently tan and maroon, so we've chosen those colors to retrofit the unit itself. We presented back in October also that there are existing agreements in place with the Westmoreland County Department of Recreation and the connection to the Heritage Trail, which is shown at this location here. So that connection has been made through agreements with Westmoreland County, and that connects directly to the bike trail that runs along the Turtle Creek Railroad there. As everybody is aware, it's a very highly used and I think continues to grow as time. So back in October, the owners were not too rushed to get this in place because winter was upon us. So they tabled this. We asked for an extension of time. So now they've come back and reevaluated the need. A lot of the members that use the sports zone has asked for this as well. It provides I guess a great idea. Instead of transporting bicycles to and from homes, it allows families or a single user to store a bike at the facility and enjoy the trail, whether you go eastward or westward. At any hours, you would more or less lease a unit. It's a simple, just through agreements with the sports zone, simple locking facility. There was another question as we presented this, whether or not this provides any additional parking. We did provide an assessment just recently based on the discussions that we did have back in October. The conclusions were that ample parking does exist. This goes back to originally in 2004 when we moved the deck hockey site from Route 22 to this location here, where we proposed and built just one outdoor deck in the accompanying office building to the right. Then in 2011, we came back and added the sports zone and the corresponding 110 parking spaces. At both times in 2004, we did a parking and trip generation analyses. And then in 2011, we re-engaged and did another trip generation study for the proposed expansion of the sports arena and the ancillary uses within its current footprint. And again, the counts that were taken after the October's meeting, again, is all in line with what we've proposed and accounted for and counted back in 2004, again in 2011, and currently at the end of 2021. So again, during normal operations, there is ample parking. The uses internal to the building are daytime specific. So there has not been any overlap in regard to evening use of the deck hockey, whether it be exterior or interior, as well as the weekend plays on Saturdays and Sundays. So again, I think what has been asked for back in October is being presented tonight for the consideration to move this forward in the hopes that they can place this unit here in the spring.
You said there are nine units.
There's 9 doors, yes.
Okay, so one person or one membership per door? Or do you have multiple people using that?
It could be shared. I think based on each unit and the size and dimension and some characteristics that we pulled from the City of Pittsburgh bicycle storage requirements, each unit can hold about 4 bicycles, whether they're hung or stacked individually. I'm sure you could stack a whole family's supply of bicycles in there, stacked on top of each other, but I think some of the, the people that would really use this, care for their bikes, they would neatly store them. But I think a unit could safely hold 4 bicycles. And again, whether it's a family that rents that or a number of individuals that might go in and share, that has not been determined. It's possible.
And the reason I asked the question, a family typically would all be arriving in the same vehicle. If you have, a group of people that went together and shared the unit, they'd all be arriving in separate vehicles. So I'm just wondering about the parking and the traffic and so forth.
That actually was summarized in our correspondence. There was an assumption that The units could be rented by families who would travel to Murrysville Sports Zone with one vehicle. And then there was also a statement, the units could be shared by 4 individuals who would travel to Murrysville in 4 separate vehicles. So there was a conservative estimate saying that for each unit, there would be 2 vehicles. I think that's not the case. However, conservatively, we said that this could anticipate 18 cars. But just based on the counts that exist and the parking available, the conclusion was that, again, 71 parking spaces would be dedicated based on the counts. That correlates to the studies that was done in 2004, again in 2011. So that equates to 39 additional or excess parking spaces that exist. And again, on the daytime use down there, the parking lot is empty from morning till 5 p.m.
So, right now, if I wanted to go down there and park my car and take my bike off my car or vehicle and use the trail, I could do that.
Yeah, if you can find a parking space and choose to park there and not have an issue with the owner, people are doing that today.
People are doing that today.
Operative word is to find a parking spot.
Pardon me?
The operative word is to find a parking spot. John, I didn't follow the math. Could you help me through this? He based it on the city of Pittsburgh, which had units of 4 foot by 6 foot, right? That's 24 square feet. And they permit 2 bikes, so is it fair to assume that each bike takes up 12 square feet?
If that's I didn't check the math on that, but again, I think with a 3-foot door, an 8-foot deep storage unit, we could very easily accommodate 4 bicycles per unit.
Well, actually, it's to your benefit because the unit is actually 36 square feet, right?
This unit would be ample. Again, that was just a reference. The city has a very specific, it has to be this size. When you're developing an apartment or residential unit, there has to be this much square feet dedicated per unit.
All right, so follow me through here. Let's assume that we go with the Pittsburgh requirement of 12 square feet per bike, right?
Okay.
So it's 36 square feet each unit that you're proposing.
Okay.
So there will be 3 bicycles permitted in there. You're saying 4.
Saying 4.
Okay. And you're assuming then that each unit would have a demand of 2 cars?
That was an assumption made just based on the possibility that a unit is shared or a unit is given to a family. It's hard to say what the need or what the demand is going to be. Again, the question is, and the discussions have been, if you do this, we'll rent them.
So there could be anywhere from conservatively 2 cars accessing each unit to 4 cars accessing each unit.
So I think it's saying one per unit to 4 per unit.
Yeah, yeah. So it
And
could be
they
anywhere.
used the number of 2.
We use 2 times the 9 units.
Okay.
And so 2 times 9 is 18, and you had how many spaces when you did this very limited
There's
study?
110 available parking spaces on the site striped. 71 was the maximum count based on the day that the parks were counted. And again, that correlates directly to the numbers that were provided for the original development, the expansion in 2011, and, again, just based on the current studies here in October.
And that's when there were 2 events there, I believe, on a Saturday.
Correct. Both decks were used, with teams waiting to use the deck the second time, as far as the changeover, the turnover of playtime.
Do we have any anecdotal information on, or is it just the perception that, gee, it's awful crowded down here?
Do I have pictures of cars parking on school roads?
Do you?
No.
Okay. It's just a perception that it's pretty busy there.
No, it's not a perception, it's a reality on occasion.
Oh, so you do have pictures or you don't have
I
pictures?
don't have pictures.
Okay,
Have
but
to
you've seen
drive
them,
by.
but you've seen them there?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no, again, transparency when the owner hosts an event. Again, there was a boxing match in October. Drove hundreds of people to the facility. They rented vans and transported patrons from the school property in parking lots to the facility. Again, that was an event that was scheduled, and it had nothing to do with the deck hockey site. And if you go there at that time to ride your bike, you're going to turn around and go home.
Probably. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, question. You mentioned demand. Do you have a feel for or a sense for demand for these
Just
units?
based on what the owners have discussed amongst the routine players that show up there. Again, there's a lot of people that routinely, after a game, bring their bike, take it out of the truck, and get on the trail. It's just the fact that if you build this or you provide this here, I would be willing to lease a unit.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And it's a significant attribute that Murrysville has. It's not that this facility would enhance that, but it's really, the owners see the benefit of what the trail is providing Murrysville. And again, this location, and again, I think we talked in October, again, something to consider just based on the municipality, putting units like this at strategic locations. It's, I think you're gonna see that the idea, the concept is beneficial. It's hard to ride with families in some of the residential communities. It's just, it's not a very easily accessible, ride your bike outside in our subdivisions. Yet we have an excellent trail system, extended westward or eastward at this point. Again, you can see the traffic that this generates daily and on the weekends.
Roughly, what's the cost of a lease like this?
That has not been determined. I don't even think that they wish to get this up and running. They haven't drafted any type of lease agreements or, again, the unit itself, they can buy the storage unit for a few $1,000s, retrofitted for another $1,000 to have it delivered. It could sit on a concrete base or an aggregate base. So the capital cost is insignificant, but I think here it's the benefit aspect of what they've at least described to me as providing something that people are asking for.
Probably the people asking are already members or whatever down there.
Correct. And that's where the discussions have taken place.
So, when they retrofit these things, how do they compare the exterior so that this thing doesn't become a rusty hulk at some point in time?
I guess the epoxy, the paint, it's similar to the metal structure that's there. Again, the paint finishes. There is a picture, I'm not sure if I submitted it, but the unit that's actually sitting in the Monroeville Business Park is earmarked for this site. It is currently just an off-white, but it would be painted with this finish to match the building. And again, I think just upkeep is, again, it's going to be in their front, it's going to be fully exposed to the trail. They take good care of the property as it is today. I'm sure they would take pride in maintaining the look of this unit.
So the doors are going to face north or south?
Right now, the plan would be that the doors would face the building because of the sidewalk that's there. It would be easy access if, instead of crossing the lawn area, they could get onto the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk connects to the trail. So there wouldn't be just a meandering across the lawn area. There's a sidewalk that is along the whole north face of the building from east to west.
What's the back of this look like? Because that's what
It
you'll
would
see
be a
from the
solid
trail.
paint of that beige.
Will look like
Sealed.
a dumpster.
Yeah, basically.
You planted some trees or something along that?
There's actually the row of trees that were planted with the original sports. They're shown in plan here. They're numbered. they've matured over the last, since 2011, since they've been planted. They've matured, so they have filled in that whole facade. I mean, they follow the right-of-way of the Sunoco gas line.
They're not that big yet, but
They're getting there.
they're getting there, yeah.
Where are we in the process here? The agenda says this is a discussion, or gets forwarded to council as a site plan modification, I would assume.
That's correct.
And so, are there any outstanding issues other than our reservations about the parking?
How do the emergency vehicles access the rear of that building now, John?
They could access the entire frontage and the north side. There was not planned access on the south end.
Or the west or east side?
That sidewalk turns, again, there's we have concrete sidewalks that extend to that northeast corner and then also to the southwest corner.
So there's emergency exiting from the building.
Yes.
Can you get a vehicle back there?
You can drive the whole length of the Sunoco right-of-way and also the sidewalk adjacent to the building. You could get a vehicle back there.
Okay, so a motion to recommend this to council or deny this recommendation to deny it to council is in order at this point. Okay. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
No problem.
Someone care to make a motion to recommend approval?
I move to recommend approval to pass this along to council relative to the plan as stated for the 9-door garage.
I second.
Second, third, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any new business, Mr. Morrison?
Not tonight.
Not tonight. When will we hear from Mr. Tommy again?
Probably the May meeting, or after we schedule the public hearing.
May?
April, I'm sorry, April.
Oh, okay. All right, I thought we lost a month there. We have no other business. The only thing that I wanted to say was I got caught up in the moment the last meeting. I appreciate you all nominating me for chairman, and I appreciate your confidence.
A new well
That's what
application.
it was.
Well, your campaign promise was to give us a 10% increase. Now, we're expectations.
They've fallen on deaf ears, I'm sorry.
We may have a
It's
new
in the
well.
compensation committee.
Okay, yeah. All right.
We may have a new well application at the April meeting too.
I've heard rumors of that from
A Hermes well.
our neighboring community.
No, the well's going to be in Murrysville. It's partial land development in Plum.
Yeah, but that's where I heard, and this is going to be
Mills Farm
the Mills Farm.
on Logan's Ferry.
Okay. All right. Anything from the audience at this point?
Yes, sir. We have, my name is Scott Jones, my wife, Mona Jones. We are pleased to be here, and we are looking to purchase a piece of property off, the address is Dunning Avenue. It's over in Export. And, can you see that? Probably not, so small. Right now, the parcel is 1.36 acres, I believe. And what we'd like to do with it is to subdivide it, if possible. Okay, great.
Is this the drawing that you sent me?
Yeah.
Oh, here, I can bring it up.
Oh, okay.
How big a piece is it? 3.
1.37,
Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Second, yeah.
1.73.
It's 2 lots.
Technically, right now, it's one lot.
It's only taxed as one lot.
Okay. Do you got water and sewer?
There is sewer access here. There's a sanitary easement. Runs right through the center of the
You
property.
got to get the microphone, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
There is a sanitary easement that comes down Idaho Street, excuse me, makes it to the center of the property and then tees off to the left and to the right, and also has a sanitary easement coming down here with a manhole cover. There's also a manhole cover here. So the property's pretty cut up. So what we'd like to do, what we'd like to propose to do, is to, split the property in half, almost in half. We'd like to put, since it's an R2 zone, we'd like to put 2 duplexes, one on each parcel. And we would like to, honestly, we would like to live in one of the duplexes, build it and live there for the next 15, 20 years or so. And then the other duplex, rent out all the units itself. Let's see what else. So we would ask if we could vacate, if it was possible to vacate the top part of this, or partial part of Dunning Avenue. This is right now currently a paper street. There's nothing there. I think the property was abandoned at some point, is what I understand. There is a gentleman that owns it, and we are in negotiations right now to buy it. Our plan is to set a duplex here and a duplex here. And if we can set it where we'd like, without vacating the property, we would only be 15 feet off the setback for the front yard.
So we would be asking for a variance for that. If that were to come up, we would be asking for a variance. So instead, we're going to be asking for a vacation of.
Why do you want that portion of the roadway vacated?
So we don't have to ask for the, so we have, what was the reason? It was,
Well, so the front of the property, if you're considering this the front of the property, is much easier to build than if we were to set everything back.
Isn't it?
There's an existing valley in there, Bob, and it's just it's a paper street that was never built.
Yeah, I see that.
And I don't believe it ever will be. Jim, those lots on the other side there, there's one house built on all those lots. It's even though it's separate tax parcels, it's really odd. There's a house that kind of encompasses them all.
Well, if you vacated that, wouldn't that reduce the frontage of the one lot that's proposed and maybe not meet the frontage requirement?
No, it meets it.
The width?
It would meet it. Well, it would be a private right-of-way. It would become a private right-of-way.
Yeah, but you still have to have so much frontage on a street.
I think the private right-of-way would.
Even if it's, I don't know, that we've been down that road before. We can check it.
Yeah, that's what I did on my property. It was a similar situation.
Okay, and you say there's there's sort of a valley over there?
Yeah. Yep, right where the sewer line goes.
Okay. So what questions do you have for us?
well, we were trying to fill you guys out and see if we can move forward with the plan. Her father is an architect, and he's going to be drawing up the plans for both structures. And we just like, a head nod or a blessing or something that tells us that this plan could work, that we could move forward with it and apply for permits and such. And
Well, I think, everybody has the right to subdivide their property as long as they meet all the subtle the fine print of the
Yes, sir.
zoning ordinance. And it sounds like you've got someone qualified to address these issues. So you have to get council to vacate the street, which is no easy task. You have to get a variance from the zoning hearing board, which again is no easy task. So those are your primary hurdles that you'd have to overcome.
Right, we understand.
Yeah, we're willing to put in the effort if it sounds as though you guys would be willing to consider our proposal seriously.
As long as it meets all the rules, yeah.
Right, so again, if we go back to vacating this, if we can vacate it, would be ideal for us, and it would then meet all of the criteria for the setbacks. If we don't vacate it, then we would need to ask for a variance for the 15, because the structure would be within 15 feet.
At least
On this one here, correct.
On that one.
And that's
Yes,
because
that-
that's because of topography, or?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's 66 feet of frontage there on each of those lots?
Yes.
Okay.
What's this zoned?
R2.
I, for the life of me, can't figure out how R2 got into White Valley.
Actually,
Isn't it R3?
No.
Look at, take a look at the notes up there in the corner.
Let me take a look at the zoning map up
say
there.
R3.
Yeah, it's
Which
R3.
seems odd because I thought
We
No, it's
were
R3.
told it was R2.
R2.
No, it's R3.
It's R3?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's R3. I don't think there's any R2 property in White Valley.
Yeah, because when you're talking 66 foot of frontage, that certainly wouldn't meet the R2 regulations, yeah. Okay. All right, well, is there anything else you'd want to talk about?
Other than time frame on this exactly, what would be your guess as far as, asking to get it vacated, getting in, do we have to come back in front of you
How
guys?
old are your children?
Mine? Oh, no.
Jim, you said
Mine are grown. Hers
this with the
Ours
solicitor.
are still.
What's that?
You could discuss this with the solicitor, correct? As far as the
first
street
hurdle
right
is
away.
going to be abandoning the street, and I believe that there are property interests from adjoining properties to that abandoned street.
Sure.
And there has to be some kind of sign-off from those property owners because they all have interest in that right away.
Right.
So that's your first hurdle, I think, before you even start spending money subdividing and architectural drawings.
Well, may I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
Doesn't it mean if we get it vacated that, if we vacate the Dunning Avenue, that half of it would be vacated to us and half would be vacated to the neighbor?
That's correct, but every property owner that abuts Dunning Avenue has an interest in that road as it exists now. So you would get half of that road, but the people down the road, they also get half of it. But they have interest because that road provides access. That abandoned road provides access, supposedly, under the original subdivision.
Right.
Okay, so they have property interest there of the entire road.
Well,
It perhaps would be more beneficial if you could have a conversation with the solicitor
Yes.
on this matter to.
Have you consulted an attorney at all on the abandonment of the street?
Very briefly.
All right, I think you need to be advised by them on that.
Okay.
All right. I believe that was property originally subdivided.
it was. There was
And that
divided
paper
into
road
4.
was for access to all those properties within that subdivision.
Right.
Okay. After 21 years, no improvements on it, the municipality doesn't have rights in the property. The rights, though, remain with the property owners that abut that abandoned road.
Okay.
All right? So there's an interest there on their behalf. Now, there's a process to have that interest relieved for lack of a better term. And it takes some time to do that. So I think your first step is to research that and request of council the abandonment of that property.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Would it be easier then to abandon vacating the property and just asking for a variance on the 15-foot setback?
You're not going to get a variance on that unless, for economic reasons, no. Unless there is a hardship there because of the topography.
Well, I would think
But
that we have,
if I may interject,
Sure.
that property's laid out now as one lot.
right,
And there probably was a reason for that, because a house couldn't be built on two smaller lots. So if you subdivide it and create the hardship, that's not a reason for a variance.
well, the hardship would be, another hardship would be that the property's cut up with the sanitary,
It could work, but again, that's up to the zoning
I mean,
hearing
it's,
board.
the property's all
variance-
cut up.
The variance is a much more difficult task.
Okay. Yes,
And
sir.
again, your attorney can advise you on that. There are only certain reasons why a variance can be granted, and one of them is not economic hardship.
Well, I don't think we're asking for economic hardship more than we are the fact that the property is cut up with easements that we can't build on. Otherwise, if we
Well,
can't.
you don't want to say that, because then subdivision won't be granted. If you're creating an unbuildable lot, then the subdivision can't be granted.
Be careful what you say.
Yeah. Yeah, be careful. You can't create a lot that can't be built on under the zoning requirements for that district.
I see.
Well, good luck to you.
We're trying. We're
I'll
doing
talk to
everything
the
we can.
solicitor about the abandonment process, but I think you need to consult an attorney also on that. Okay?
Great.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Anything else for the good of the cause? No news from council, Carl? No? Okay. All right, nothing else? Ask for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all.